Hi, this is Patrick Jaguar and welcome to my channel. So this is my September 2023 astrological forecast and analysis. So this is my monthly video for September 2023. So very interesting month here. Things keep heating up. Things are going to heat up more. We are kind of coming down to the end of the old world and the beginning of the new one. So this month is going to have a lot of catalysts in it. It's going to be more and more apparent. We're not going back to the way things were. We're not going back to mom and dad's world. So I call the years of 1945 to 2020 75 years of narcissism. So that was a big party. People were getting wasted. Now we're in the hangover phase. And in this hangover phase, we're going to build a new world. And we're just not going to go back to the way things were. It's not going to be that easy. We're not going to get off the hook that easy. So we're going to talk all about this in this video. Before I do that, I'm going to put my little plug in. Thank you to everybody who watches this channel, who likes, subscribes, comments, shares the videos. It's very helpful to this channel, and I appreciate you. If you're not yet a subscriber, I ask you to consider doing so. Every time I upload one of these videos, every time I go live, every time I post, you'll get a notification. So thanks for your consideration. And if you've not had a reading with me, I strongly recommend it. These readings are a great roadmap to just help to basically move forward in your life and help you to be a truer version of yourself. That's the biggest challenge in life. We learn how to please people. We learn how to become the person that other people wants us to be, whether it's our parents, our significant others, our teachers, our friends, our neighbors. When we do this, we inevitably run into roadblocks, unhappiness, and personal crises. So astrology is a very practical tool. The way I practice it, it's a very practical tool to help you to navigate life and to help you to be your truest self. When you start becoming truer versions of yourself, life goes more the way you want it to. Life is more fulfilling. Life is happier. So yeah, I'll put my link to my website, to my booking calendar in the description below, and you can check that out. All right, so let's get into this. So I'm going to change my format a little bit. My last few videos, they've been extremely long. They've been tough to get through. They've been tough to shoot. They've been tough to edit. So I'm going to pick some highlights more. So the highlights this month, the planet Mars. Mars is going to be making some angles this month. So not a lot of straight up conjunctions this month. A lot of transits going on. But the magic this month comes from angles, comes from what we call inconjunctions or quincunxes. So, and then yods too. So these quincunxes, these inconjunctions, what are they? It's when two planets are 30 degrees off from an opposition. So an opposition is when two planets are 180 degrees from each other. They're in opposite houses. They're in opposite signs. So when you have an opposition, you have very direct communication between planets. This communication is very direct, but there's tension. And it's basically adversarial communication. There's tension because two planets are in opposite places, each trying to get their own way. Now, when you look at quincunxes, excuse me, when you look at quincunxes, aka inconjunctions, what is that? An inconjunction or quincunx is when planets are 30 degrees off from an opposition. So rather than being 180 degrees apart, they're 150 degrees apart, or they're 210 degrees apart. And you get about 3 to 5 degrees of wiggle room within that 150 or 200 degree mark. So because they are not 180 degrees opposite, because there's this 30 degree difference, these planets have a very difficult time communicating with one another. So what happens here, it sets up the condition of cognitive dissonance. So if you're not a native English speaker, or if you are an English speaker and you haven't heard this term, cognitive dissonance is when your mind is basically in disarray. Your mind feels disorganized. And you feel like you're going crazy because you're dealing with two very opposite, very contradictory ideas. You're holding both in your mind, and you don't know how to reconcile those two ideas. So you don't know how to view the situation where both ideas are true, even though they're so different. So an example of this, it's like, for example, during the whole pandemic that just went on, some people said, the virus is fake, it's not real, and you don't need to take any precautions. You don't need to do anything differently. You don't need to get any healthier. You don't need to do anything different because the virus is fake. So that was one standpoint. The other standpoint that was very different was the virus is very real and it's going to kill you if you don't wear a mask all the time, you don't stay at least 6 feet away from everybody, and you don't get the needlecraft and the boosts. So these were very seemingly opposite ideas. Now, for me, the reality is always somewhere in the middle. It's a mixture of the two opposite viewpoints. So for me, it's like, well, yes, this virus is real. Its origins are very different than what the dinosaur, legacy mainstream media says. But it's not as deadly as the mainstream says it is. So Rona's real, but it's not as horrible as you're being told. Now, I didn't get needle crafted, I didn't get boosted because I don't believe that's necessary. I believe it can be very harmful. But I also think it's a good idea to be healthier, drink less alcohol, eat better, exercise, be generally healthier. So to prevent this cognitive dissonance, where I'm not going crazy because I don't know which point of view, which opposite point of view to choose, you make a synthesis. So it's like with the Baphomet artwork, the Baphomet depiction that all of the truthers and the fundamentalist Christians say is evil. Okay, below this Baphomet, he's pointing up and he's pointing down at the same time. So it's about unifying your higher consciousness and your lower consciousness. And he's in the middle. He's basically the synthesis. Now, underneath this image of this Baphomet, you often see these words, solvet et coagula. So this is Latin for dissolve and congeal. So dissolve this tension between these opposites that's driving you crazy and congeal them, bring them together. Find the logical middle ground. So that's what that whole Baphomet thing means. It's not about, some wacky Satanist shit. I'm sure there are Satanists that, think it is satanic, but they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Just like most Christians or Muslims or Jews or whatever. Truthers, they're all very similar. So yeah, dissolve and coagulate. Find the synthesis. So Mars is going to be having these inconjunctions, these quincunxes with a bunch of different planets, with a handful of different planets. So this is a very powerful alchemy opportunity. So the alchemy will be in synthesizing opposite narratives, opposing narratives, and there are plenty of those out there. So that's the magic this month. So Mars will be getting people all kinds of fired up, pissed off, spun up, and people are going to have poop in their pants. The poop is coming in September. The poopy pants are coming. So we're going to look mostly at Mars for this month. And, there are some other things going on. Venus comes out of retrograde. Mercury comes out of retrograde. And, we've got a full and a new moon, just like most months. But really, and, Rahu and Ketu are going to stop and station all month. They're going to stay stopped. They're going to stay stationed until November 28th, until they change signs. So Rahu goes to sidereal Pisces. Ketu goes to sidereal Virgo. And by the way, I read sidereal astrology. It's visible sky astrology. If the placements of the planets and the nodes within signs and degrees sound wrong, that's on purpose. I'm not using tropical astrology. Tropical astrology, mainstream astrology, perfectly valid zodiac. I just don't use it. I like sidereal better. If you don't know what sidereal astrology is, it's visible sky astrology. Look it up. It's really cool. In ancient times, people used to use both, but I like this one the best. I think it really gets to the heart of things more. Okay, so let's talk about Mars. Mars is going to whip up rebellion, civil unrest, anger. We'll probably see some strikes, especially with Mercury coming out of retrograde. Could see things like airline strikes. And we already have these Hollywood strikes going on. It was the writers, now it's the actors. So, very delicate position to be in for, deep state, for the government, because Hollywood keeps people distracted, pumps out a lot of propaganda. So, got that strike, and that's a big strike. Washington, D.C. will probably get involved because people don't have their regularly scheduled propaganda. So, what will Mars be aspecting? Let's go down the list here. The big one's going to be September 24th. We'll get to that last. So first one, real quick. Mars, with this 150 degree aspect, it will be in conjunct Saturn. So Mars will be at 9 degrees Virgo on September 1st. I'm getting to this late. Mars was at 9 degrees Virgo in the lunar mansion of Hymenaeus. So it's in conjunct Saturn. Saturn is about 150 degrees away, give or take 2 degrees. Saturn is at sidereal Aquarius, 7 degrees. So, 7 degrees Aquarius is also the natal moon degree for the United States of America in sidereal reckoning. And this is in the lunar mansion of Aegion. So, where Mars is, Hymenaeus, this is a lunar mansion that deals with unions, relationships. So it can be very encouraging, very positive, but its dark side is that it's codependent. It needs to be in a union or a relationship so bad that it can be very impulsive and it can pick the wrong relationship, and then we suffer the consequences. And the symbol for it, it's basically a person laying on top of a bed. So it's like a marriage bed. It's like the marriage being consummated. So you've got that going on. You've got Mars is all fired up. It's got this yearning to have this union. And we have the news, politicians being sponsored by corporations, and then news anchors being sponsored by corporations. We're coming up on an election year. They're trying to sell us a marriage to a political party and a candidate. And they're trying to get us to marry a narrative. So we have to be careful about this. If we're impulsive, and especially in the last 3 years, many people were highly impulsive. They paid the price. So people are trying to get us to get involved in a shotgun wedding very impulsively. Not a shotgun wedding, but like an impulsive, you fly out to Vegas and you marry some person you've known for a week. That kind of thing. And, Mars also being in Virgo, which the lunar mansion of Hymenaeus is in Virgo. Virgo deals with health, disease, public health, medicines, poisons, shots, all that kind of stuff. So Mars is going to be kicking up a fuss, kicking up anger about all of these things. So we see the global control grid salivating. They want to bring back lockdowns. They want us to wear masks again. And there's going to be anger on both sides of these issues of masks and lockdowns and viruses and needlecraft. So people are going to be fired up about this. Now Mars, in conjunct with Saturn. Saturn, again, it's in Aquarius, sign of we the people, of, fairness, justice, equity for the people. Also of science, technology. And then the lunar mansion of Aegeon deals with healing. It deals with the healing of the human condition, the improvement of the human condition. So you have drug companies and the politicians and the news networks that they owned telling you to buy their product and buy their product regularly. Keep getting boosted. Get your needlecraft and keep getting boosted. And they're like, we're here to heal you and to help you and to heal society. Well, don't be impulsive, otherwise you're going to fall for this shit. And the same thing with the damn the elections. You've got so the opposite sign of Aquarius, we the people, is Leo, which is rulers. So in election years, we get pandered to, and people make us big promises and promise us free handouts if we vote for them. So, and these rulers who are pandering to you for your vote, they're using health and public health as leverage in order to get your vote. So be careful. Now, Mars, with its 210-degree aspect, with its 8th aspect, looking 8 signs away, it's looking at the 9th degree of Aries, which is in the lunar mansion Dioscuri. So Dioscuri, it's the horsemen, the twins, the Castor and Pollux. So these are beings, these are higher dimensional beings that people will call upon when they need help. So it's like the cavalry coming to the rescue. So these rulers want to tell you, yeah, we're the cavalry coming to the rescue. So very interesting. Now, another thing about this, around September 1st, this Mars looking at Saturn in America's, conjunct with America's natal moon. Aquarius is a 3rd house for America, the house of mass media and communication. The moon is intuition. It's the emotional self. It's like your emotional heart. So, but Saturn is there. Saturn is bringing a reality check there. But if we can't see the reality check for what it is, and we want to be delusional, and we make impulsive decisions, and we get our emotions manipulated, Saturn will make us pay. That's Saturn's job. Saturn keeps us honest. Saturn helps us to see our delusions for what they are. So, Saturn being at America's natal moon degree, being conjunct with that, being the 3rd house of mass media, Saturn is bringing a reality check to mass media, helping to uncover the lies spread by our rulers, by our would-be lords and masters. So very powerful. September the 19th, Mars will be in conjunct Jupiter. So Mars will be at 21 degrees Virgo in the lunar mansion of Sol. So the lunar mansion of the sun god. It'll be from 210 degrees away, so at the 8th aspect, it's going to be looking at Jupiter, which is at 21 degrees sidereal Aries in the lunar mansion of Hades. So let's break this one down. Okay? Mars, it's in Virgo. Virgo cleans things up. Virgo is a public servant. It does thankless jobs. It cleans things up. It heals things. So Sol, sign of the sun god, ruled by the moon. And the interesting thing about Sol is that people who are born under this, in their younger years, they tend to suffer because they have very rigid views about, the way things should be. Now, because they have this inflexibility, they go down sort of blind alleys and they suffer. once they recognize these delusions for what they are, they become their true selves. They become more their true selves, and life gets good. So, in Soul being in Virgo, it deals with like cleaning up karma. So then Jupiter, 210 degrees away, it's in Aries. So it's that fire sign, it's initiative, it's leadership. And then it's in Hades, the lunar mansion Hades, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is all of the creature comforts and the sensual pleasures and comforts, and what's the other word I'm looking for? Assets, material resources. Now Mars can destroy things. Mars can build things, it can destroy things. The sun, because Mars is in Soul over in Virgo, it's a very cleansing force. So it's looking at Jupiter from 210 degrees away with this 8th aspect. Jupiter is the significator of banking. And then the lunar mansion, it's in Hades, ruled by Venus, deals with materiality. Now Hades is a force in our minds, in our consciousness, in our lives that helps us to strive to improve our material lives. But Hades is also the god of the underworld. So it's going to deal with truths that we don't want to look at, that we don't want to acknowledge. But it's going to make us do that anyway. So, and that's a thing, to make money, to build a business, to build your career. You have to get real. You have to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You have to play to your strengths and improve upon your weaknesses. So, because the world hasn't been doing this for a very long time, so there is karma. There's a karma of imbalance, of not following natural law. And, the financial sector does not do this. The financial sector creates money out of thin air. So there's basically a karma here where things have to get rebalanced. So I see around this time, you're going to start seeing some kind of financial market trouble. So I do not see this as, the time when we're all going to starve. We can't get food at the grocery store. Prices of things are going up, yes. They may do that some more, but this is more what we're going into. It's more of like Social Security being threatened, government pensions being threatened, private pensions being threatened, because all of these things need the financial markets to perform so that they can pay out the entitlements to people who hold these pensions or who are getting paid disability. So it's more those things that are going to be threatened. Now, Jupiter is also Thor. So Jupiter can be like a kumbaya, a very kumbaya spiritual teacher that's all-inclusive and just wants everyone to feel good. Or it can be Thor. When things get out of balance, Thor starts throwing hammers at the heads of giants and trolls. Now, giants and trolls, on one level, they're symbolic of people who have no boundaries, who are addicted to consumption. So the population in the Western world is very trollish because we're addicted to consumption. We just love to buy things and we love to buy cheap shit and throw it away and buy new stuff. But then, the people who run the economy, the people who are at the heads of these banks, and a lot of people who run these hedge funds, they're money junkies. They can't get enough of it. So, they're like these giants and trolls. They'll just consume and they'll step on people so that they can consume even more. So, Jupiter, in his persona of Thor, has some things to say about this. Jupiter being in Aries, he came out of Pisces, he came out of meditation. Now he's lighting the sacred fires, the sacrificial fires. So the parts of the financial system could get burned by the sacrificial fires, because in order to make good with the gods, with the higher consciousness, to come back into balance with natural law. So yeah, I see some banking trouble starting in the second half of this month, and it's going to go on for a good while. And I think 5 to 10 years, we're not going to recognize the world and the economy for the best, but we're going to have to take our lumps to some degree. Okay, September 30th, also a fairly considerable one. September 30th, Mars is at 28 Virgo in the lunar mansion of Vulcan, which is ruled by Mars. It's going to be in conjunct with Uranus. So it's 210 degree aspect, it's 8th aspect, it's 8th house aspect. Uranus is at 28 degrees Aries in the lunar mansion of Vesta, which is ruled by the sun. This is where Uranus was in September of 1939 when World War II kicked off. So what do I see from this? Well, definite conflict in the world. It doesn't take an astrologer to tell you that. You've got the United States is in the news media, it's posturing itself to be ready to fight the whole world, to fight the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, anybody in the Middle East, who looks at the United States, cross-eyed. So you've got all that going on. Now, the interesting thing here, Mars is in Vulcan, which is a Mars-ruled lunar mansion. Vulcan is the smith god. So he was the god who built the gods, their magical weapons, created magical objects out of metal. So Vulcan has a lot of Venus qualities. It's all about creating beautiful things. The other edge of the sword is that people can get very superficial with just wanting their designs, their creations, their machinations to prevail and to dominate. So basically, people's vanity can run amok here. Now, Uranus and Aries. Uranus is a disruptor. Uranus is an earth shaker. Uranus turns over the status quo. Uranus brings about sudden, unexpected change that revolutionizes the world. And because of this, Uranus deals with technologies, especially new technologies, new disruptive, innovative technologies. So around 1900, the automobile was a very Uranian thing because people said, oh, those automobiles will never catch on. Horses are the way to go. Well, caught on. But it was disruptive in the beginning. So, Mars being in Virgo, public health, medicines, poisons, disease, health. There could be a big disruption over a new form of the needlecraft, new boosts, a new campaign to get people boosted. Now, another thing too, Uranus being in Aries, being the war god, and Uranus being in Vesta. Vesta is the goddess of the home and the hearth. So this is a time when people can get manipulated into doing ridiculous things under the pretense of protecting their homes. Now, in the last 75 years, Americans are experts at getting manipulated to go 5,000 and 10,000 miles away to fight wars under the reasoning that they're protecting their homes, which is pretty fucking ridiculous. It's like, really? It's like Vietnam War. Like you were protecting your home by going those thousands of miles away to run a body count. Even the Iraq War was ridiculous like that, and taking on the Russians would be extremely ridiculous. You'd basically just be fighting, like all these wars, you're fighting for a financial and commercial empire. You're fighting to make other people rich. So, and again, Uranus, because Uranus has an 84-year orbit, has an 84-year return period. Last time Uranus was here, people in the Third Reich, people in Nazi Germany, were convinced that to defend their homes, they had to invade Poland and then Russia, the Soviet Union, Ukraine, all those places, even, Romania, the Balkans. And, the people in the Japanese Empire were convinced, yeah, you need to basically invade the whole Pacific Rim to defend your home. And then the American people, a couple of years later, after American banks had funded, financed, and enabled the Third Reich and its allies, the American people were convinced, oh, the only way we can stop these people is to go fight them. So people will be trying to manipulate us to fight for them. And even just, in our own countries. Again, it's an election year. People are going to try to manipulate us to pick a side within the uniparty. It's a uniparty. The two parties in America, and then, all parties in every country, they're all one party, but they put on a big show and they try to convince you they're different. So I recommend don't get manipulated. So I think this Mars in conjunct with Uranus, it's going to be a disaster for rulers, not just in America, but in, worldwide. We'll see more floods, earthquakes, extreme weather, power outages, because again, Uranus deals with electricity. So all forms of electricity, even the nervous system. So there's that. Okay. Now we're at the big one. September the 24th. Mars is at 24 degrees, sidereal Virgo, still in the lunar mansion of Soul. And it is going to be, with its sixth aspect, it's looking at Aquarius. So it's not conjunct America's natal moon anymore. I mean, it's not in conjunct America's natal moon. It's not in conjunct the Saturn, transiting Saturn, which is sitting on America's natal moon. But it's looking at that sign. Now, Virgo is the 10th house for America. And this is the house of government. And so, indirectly deals with rulers. So, this is interesting here. Another thing too. This 24th degree of sidereal Virgo, this is the natal degree for America's Saturn. So this is where Saturn was, July 4th, 1776. So Mars and Saturn together, they create setbacks, they create explosiveness, they create conflict, obstacles, outrage. So Mars, the planet of aggression and war, it's conjunct America's natal Saturn degree. So this is a big disaster for the U.S. government. The U.S. government, in my opinion, could use a disaster. It's in the midst of a power grab. The figurehead puppet, Joe Biden, his handlers are trying to arrest all of his political opponents, Donald Trump being the foremost. And they're in a big power grab. They want to have this digital currency that they want to implement. They want to have a cash-free society. They'd love to take people's guns. They love to abolish private property so that the banks can own everything. So the government could use a setback. Now, some sort of blow will be dealt to the U.S. government. I don't know what this looks like. Hopefully it's not in the form of a Reichstag fire. Like a January the 6th kind of thing. So hopefully, there's no like false flag thing that the government uses to get people to have pity so that the people give the government and the politicians all their power. Hopefully it's nothing like that. Hopefully it's rulers getting their just desserts. So a lot of possibilities here. I don't know what this is going to look like. But since Jill Biden allegedly has the Rona, this could be a big pity piece where the media is like, oh, President Biden has the Rona. That means you could have the Rona too. So you should wear 3 masks and make sure you get your boosts. And if you're not needle crafted, get your needle craft. This could be a period where, for whatever reason, Biden is urged to resign. Probably his own party throwing him under the bus. Could just be because of his age. They might just start showing his demented behavior in the media more and more, and then they call for his resignation. That's a possibility. I don't think the justice system is going to come around enough in the next few weeks to where they will prosecute him for his international business dealings, like, him and Hunter's dealings in Ukraine, for example. So it could be him being urged to resign. Yeah. Now through this, transiting Saturn is still conjunct America's natal moon, 7 degrees Aquarius in Aegeon. So Saturn is trying to resolve things, trying to heal situations, trying to bring things into balance. That's what Saturn does. Saturn keeps it real. Now, on this very day, the Sun, transiting Sun, will be at 7 degrees sidereal Virgo in Hymenaeus. It'll be in conjunct with America's natal moon, which is 7 degrees Aquarius. So this sets up conditions here where the rulers say one thing, but then because mainstream media is falling apart and just more things are slipping out that people really don't want coming out. Saturn, transiting Saturn, is bringing a reality check to media, while the rulers, symbolized by the Sun, are trying to tell us how wonderful they are. You get the media saying, oh, since Biden took office, the economy is amazing and all these new jobs have been created. And inflation's not real. That's not real. So the cognitive dissonance is going to build and it's going to backfire, and people are going to start seeing through the illusions more. So, and other astrologers have looked into this, and in the history of America, we haven't had Mars making all these aspects while Saturn is conjunct, because Saturn takes 30 years to make a transit, to make an orbit. So Saturn conjuncts America's natal moon every 30 years. That's nothing special. But to have Mars making all these unusual aspects, and to have Sun in conjunct Saturn while it's on America's natal moon, while Mars is doing all this crazy shit, I don't think it's ever happened. So that's pretty neat. Let me see. Through all this, Jupiter is stationed. So it's just sitting at the 21 degrees of Aries in the lunar mansion Hades. So again, Jupiter is throwing things onto the sacrificial fire that need to be burned, that need to be rebalanced so we can get back to a state of balance. Let me see. So yeah, I see a lot of information starting to be revealed that will catalyze more mass awakenings. And there's a huge mass awakening going on. If you doubt it, take a harder look. Look more. Look harder. It is going on. This whole doom and gloom thing, it's a huge addiction. So, through all this, especially by this point, by the 24th, the cat will be out of the bag and it'll never go back in the bag. So the status quo will never return, where people just believe the news and they just conform and go along with all the narratives. So mom and dad's world will be looking more and more dead by the day And this is a very good thing. So, and through all this, people will be very confused. The mass of people will be very confused. They won't know what to think about any of this. So, I recommend to people just find grounded people whose perspectives you can listen to. Stay away from the sensationalism, stay away from the mainstream, stay away from the QAnoners, stay away from the religious fundamentalists. Find reasonable, grounded people to listen to if you're looking for insights. So, yeah, people will be seeing that their assumptions about the way the world works are complete delusions. So, yeah, and this mass confusion will catalyze spiritual awakening. Now, the interesting thing with this is that Rahu and Ketu, where they are now, they're at in 1968, getting ready to make the sign change, Rahu into Pisces, Ketu into Virgo. So, and in the 60s, you had this mass confusion, which was catalyzing awakenings. Now, the hippie movement was not an awakening. That was invented by escaped Nazis who worked for Central Intelligence. I should make a video about that. But the hippie movement was a blind alley. But one thing we're going to get out of all this, we're going to see that there are no redeemers. There are no saviors. You have to save yourself. There are people who can help you, but you have to be the one to do it. That is the ultimate. That's one of the ultimate spiritual insights. But yeah, when you go forward and you look beyond September. You look at November the 28th when the sign change happens, and you look beyond that. When Rahu goes into Pisces, we're going to be looking deeper into ourselves. Rahu is in this light side of the zodiac, which is Aries to Virgo. Now it's going to Pisces. So it's going from the superficial straight into the very deep, straight into the deep unconscious mind. So that's really interesting. So there's going to be, going forward, the end of this year, next year even more, and the years after that, spiritual seeking is going to be very commonplace. People who had nothing to do with spirituality are suddenly going to be interested in it. So this is very good. So, but through all this, take care to not get led astray by the hippies. Because, the hippie-dumb hippiness, it was just a fashion. It was like, just do these drugs, let your armpits get stinky, get real hairy, dress this way, and you're magically a spiritual person. That's all you have to do. Or it's like, you're a member of this political party. Oh, you do this kind of yoga. Oh, you're automatically a spiritual person. Don't get distracted by that shit. Now, another thing. Rahu is what we call Gandanta. Gandanta means the karmic knot. There are 3 Gandanta points in the zodiac. This is where planets go from water signs to fire signs. At that cusp, where a water sign runs into a fire sign, you get steam, you get emotional pressure. So Gandanta means karmic knot. So it's basically things are all knotted up and they feel really tense. Now when planets go backwards, when they retrograde fire to water, you get the same effect. So the nodes, Rahu and Ketu, always in retrograde. So Rahu that's a good couple of months is going to be Gandanta. So people are going to be feeling very intense emotionally, getting very wrapped around the axle. So, don't go overboard. Don't be impulsive. Don't get manipulated into marrying a narrative. So, yeah, and real quick, Venus, September 4th, went direct, came out of retrograde. 18 degrees sidereal Cancer, lunar mansion of Hydra. Meanwhile, Jupiter is retrograde. For this whole month, Jupiter's retrograde in Hades. So Jupiter's going back and reviewing things. Retrogrades, it's when the universe exhales. It's when our minds exhale. We review things instead of taking new things on. So with Venus direct, Jupiter retrograde, you're going to see some kind of banking drama, financial drama. Mercury, September the 16th, goes direct, 14 degrees Leo and Bacchus. So Leo, the sign of rulers, executive figures, royals, presidents, prime ministers. You know, Bacchus, lunar mansion of intoxication. So we're going to see, it's going to come out into the media, just how drunk that we've been on our own delusions, on thinking that we're so important and these politicians love us and they care about nothing except our own well-being. So we're going to be faced with that reality more and more. We're going to see just how drunk these rulers were on their own egotism, on their own narcissism. So you're going to see more scandals. So, interesting month. So I'm going to leave it at that. Be aware. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't jump to conclusions. Slow down and really take a careful look at things. All right. Thanks for tuning in.